Hey guys, hope everybody's doing well. I'm about to jump back into a bunch of traveling, which I guess is always the case, but a lot of cool dates coming up. I'll be playing in Egypt and Utah and everywhere in between. Mainly just doing my own stuff these days, but I've also got some dates coming up with Chris Botti, so check out my website and just see if I'm coming through your area, and we'll be announcing spring dates very soon. But today we're going to talk about chord changes on standards. Why is it so hard to remember chord changes, and why is it so difficult to retain them once you've learned the changes? A lot of people just forget what they learned a few weeks later, and it's really frustrating. So people ask me questions about this all the time, and the answer is actually pretty simple. Practicing it can be difficult, but we've made a PDF and backing tracks to make this process way easier for you. So we'll talk more about that in a minute here. But if you want to follow along with the chord progressions and the phrases that I'm playing later on in this video that have all been transcribed, and it's with a full band actually, go ahead and check out that link now in the description below. So I can actually make a guarantee here, and I don't typically do this, but I can actually guarantee if you practice this method the right way, if you practice the method that we're about to talk about, you'll actually be able to memorize a standard instantly. And by that, what I mean is that you'll be able to just listen through a standard once or twice, and boom, you've got the changes down. I can guarantee this because I used to have tons of trouble myself memorizing chord changes. And now through practicing like this, I feel like I know the whole universe of standards, because whatever I learn, I can pretty much learn instantly. So I feel like I have access to learning any song. So some of you might know this already because you've inquired, but I actually don't teach privately at all, except for at San Francisco Conservatory of Music, where I'm a visiting artist, and I go out there for a week each month in between touring. But aside from that, I guess you could say I'm retired from teaching. However, I will come out of retirement to do a Skype lesson with any of you if this method doesn't work for you, because I'm really that sure of how effective it is. So let's jump into this method. Every standard has this long, typically 32-bar form, and it looks or sounds intimidating when you first see it or hear it, when you imagine trying to memorize all those changes. But the reality is that every standard is just made up of a bunch of smaller devices that are put together one after another, and all of those devices are recycled and reused throughout lots of standards. So there's so much common ground between all of these tunes. And therefore, if you isolate each device as a chord progression on its own, just a short 4-bar thing typically, and you practice all of those isolated chord progressions, you're going to be able to instantly hear a whole set of changes as they flash by you, because you're going to hear and understand each one of the smaller devices as they happen one at a time. It's almost like being able to see, and identify colors as they flash right before your eyes. It will be like, oh, there's a 251. The same way you could say, oh, there's a red car as it drives by. So what I'm saying here is that your ears will recognize the sound just like our eyes can recognize different colors. So what we've done, so you can practice this, and so it will be way easier, is we've isolated just 40 chord progressions that I'm about to play for you with a full band, and all of these are some of the most common progressions that exist in standards. So with each mini progression, with each isolated chord progression that you're setting, you're actually going to be practicing a piece of dozens of standards without even knowing it. And so if you really want to do this right, you practice these sounds, these little chord progressions, little 4-bar things in all 12 keys. So anytime these devices come up in any standard, in any key, you've got it down. And the process of that just makes you a way better musician and improves your ears dramatically, but it's freaking hard. So we've made it way easier for you. And we've created backing tracks for all of these chord progressions for you to practice with in all 12 keys, plus phrases to play on each of these progressions in all 12 keys. So these are all 4-bar progressions, sometimes 8 bars max, so it's really not that much. You could easily go through one chord progression each day in all of the keys, and in about a month, you've got all 40 progressions down in all the keys. And that's when you're gonna get to the point where you can start hearing standards and recognizing that it's just a bunch of puzzle pieces that you already know, and you're just putting them together to understand the whole song. And you're gonna get to the point where, honestly, you're gonna be able to hear a standard just a couple choruses down, and you're gonna identify all of it, and you're gonna have it all memorized. So again, for this project, we actually went into the studio, we booked an amazing band, and I played a phrase on each one of these progressions. And all of those phrases have been transcribed by Ron Fix, who did a transcription book of my solos a few years back. And he's put all these phrases into all 12 keys, so you can apply each phrase to any key that you're working on to help you really get a hang of these different sounds. So we're gonna jump into these 40 progressions now, and remember, just click the link so you can download the PDFs to follow along with all these changes and all the phrases that I play, and so you'll get them blown out into all 12 keys with backing tracks. Gonna be an amazing practice tool. All right, guys, so here it is. Hope you dig it.